as it has since the beginning of time. It reminded us of the racing memories that this beach has given us and of the great men who have competed there and at the Palace of Speed that replaced it. Our friend Neil Bonnet was one of those great drivers. His death yesterday has saddened all of us and left us concerned for his family. We take comfort in knowing that Neil did see the sunrise today, just from a different perspective. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome to Daytona. We are live here to recap qualifying, but we certainly could not begin our program without some thoughts about Neil Bonnet, who unfortunately lost his life yesterday in a crash during practice for the Daytona 500. I know many of you, in fact I am, we're asking ourselves, why do race drivers continue to do what they do, knowing the dangers involved? Well, two men who certainly know the answer to that are with us as usual tonight, Ned Jarrett and Benny Parsons.
Well, Bob, I think it's just something that when we choose to be a race driver, and as we get deeper into it, it's just something that's instilled in us, that we want to drive a race car. And that's Neil Bonnet. That was the #1 thing in his life. A lot of people wondered, why would he come back after his accident in 1990 and want to get in a race car again? He knew the risk that could be involved, but that's what he wanted to do. And you have to respect anyone for doing exactly what they want to do. And if there's any consolation in this, we know that Neil did die doing what he wanted to do.
And that's exactly right, because how many people get to do exactly what they want to do? What, 5% of the people? So that's what Neil wanted to do, and you know, can you die happy? No, you can't, but he was happy on the fact that he was once again driving a race car. And I guess the next asked question, how can these guys go out and qualify today after what happened to Neil yesterday? It's what they do. It's how they make their living. It's what they do. And again, you never think this is going to happen to you.
And it's exactly what Neil Bonnet would have wanted. He would want the show to go on. And these fellows just have to put that behind them. And of course, they have to be concentrating 100% on what they're doing out there today. And when they strap themselves in that race car, then that's what their job is at that time. They have to forget everything else.
As we said, we are recapping Bush Pole qualifying here today, but we couldn't come on the air without a few thoughts and reflections about our friend Neil Bonnet. We are going to do our Bush Pole qualifying show in just a few moments. We hope you will stay with us because there was a lot of excitement here today. But for the next few seconds, let us reflect and continue to think about our friend Neil Bonnet.
Practice runs are over. The Katana 600.
Robert, we're ready. Okay. Got it warmed up? Yeah.
Before a Robert Yates engine makes it to the track, it's torture tested right here.
Well, let's do it.
magic words: horsepower, handling, tires.
About 190.7, a perfect lap.
A lot of horsepower.
47.55.
Horsepower.
We're going out with dignity. We're going out with style. We'll lay down that hammer, baby. Make our own rules tonight. 'Cause I can't take this town one more day.
Officially here in the pits, the 1993 NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion for the 6th time is Dale Earnhardt.
It's the Dale and Dale show as we come off of turn 4. You know who I'm pulling for. It's Dale Jarrett. Bring her to the inside, Dale. Don't let him get down there. He's going to make it. Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500. Oh, can you believe it? Way to go.
Hey, man.
Leads the field to the green flag a week from tomorrow. ESPN welcomes you live to Daytona International Speedway for qualifications on this Busch Pole Day. We're doing things a little differently this year. We are live here at this hour, and we're going to go back during the next 90 minutes and recap what has happened on this first day of time trials for the 36th annual Daytona 500-mile race. Well, it's very important to qualify and do well in qualifying, but we'll only determine the front row for the Daytona 500 here today. The rest of the starting order will be determined in the twin 125s. The results of the twin 125 set the positions 3 through 30, and then positions 31 through 40 are determined by the fastest speeds in today's qualifying. Now, several years in the past, drivers have had to rely on their qualifying speed to get into the field. Look at Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. Both had trouble during their 125 qualifiers, but both went on to win the Daytona 500-mile races. And several times during the past decade, we have seen drivers rely on their qualifying speeds to get into the race. Well, it's doubly important these days because so many drivers are involved in trying to get into the field, Ned and Benny.
65 cars here trying to qualify today. It's going to be very close.
It is, and running in the 125-mile qualifying race, even if you run good all day long, that doesn't guarantee you're going to get the Daytona 500. And 65 cars, only 42 in the field, they're going to have a race going back up I-95.
23 cars going north on Interstate 95 Friday morning, Thursday night, so that might be the best race of all, getting back to North Carolina.
So with qualifying so important, you would think that those 2 minutes that the driver straps himself into the race car and is all alone trying to get into the field are the most important. But earlier today, Dr. Jerry Punch told us that's not necessarily correct.
Thanks, Bob. Probably the easiest part of qualifying for the Daytona 500 are the actual laps turned by the car on the track itself. The real test comes in getting the car from the truck to the track, which means you must pass through NASCAR inspection. It's a meticulous process that can take days, as a team of NASCAR officials follow a step-by-step program of weighing and measuring each and every vital aspect of the car. Measurements that could unravel hundreds of man-hours of pre-season preparation. This week, one area that saw intensive scrutiny was the trunk or deck lid, as crew members struggled to meet the specs. Officials know that a few millimeters in here can mean miles per hour out there. Much of the controversy stems from preseason rule changes and racing teams' various interpretations of those changes. For some, it's frustrating. For others, it's a pure nightmare. Once completed, drivers can rest assured their mount has survived the most extensive safety analysis motorsports has to offer. NASCAR inspection is critical. Without it, you don't get on the racetrack. But if you think a team's worries are over when they finish here, guess again. They still have one major decision to make. With more, here's Sean Kernan.
Jerry, for the first time in 5 years, the NASCAR Winston Cup teams have another variable added to their already crowded equation. Hoosier Tire has once again thrown its hat into the ring, and it's given them another choice to decide whether to go with Hoosier or Goodyear. Now, last month in winter testing here at Daytona, the Hoosier teams were consistently faster than most of the teams on Goodyear's. So, with a third of the field on Hoosiers today, the next 90 minutes will settle the first battle of Tire Wars 94.
Quick look at the racetrack. The front stretch 1,200 feet long, the back stretch 3,600. The corners are banked at 31 degrees, the straights at 6 degrees, and the trioval is banked at 18 degrees. The first car that we're going to follow in qualifying is Darrell Waltrip. He was actually the second car out. Bobby Hillen qualified before him. Darrell Waltrip, of course, a former champion of this Daytona 500.
Now we have a speed trap going in turn one. Here where Darrell approaches. Hillen we see ran 186.7. Darrell's speed 188.869 miles per hour as he went in turn one.
And Darrell Waltrip is one of those drivers using Hoosier tires today, which is somewhat of a surprise, I'm sure, to a lot of people because he's been a real favorite of Goodyear's for many, many years.
There we see Barry Dotson watching on. Now we have another speed trap going in turn three. We see where Hillen ran 183.7, Darrell 186.7. The reason the wind is blowing down the front straightaway, there's a headwind down the front. The backstretch, that's the reason for the slower speed. Another speed trap coming off turn 4. Hillen's speed 182, Darrell's speed was 186, and Darrell Waltrip has completed his first lap.
And he's trying for his 22nd Daytona 500, and the first lap time 47.832, the speed 188.159, and so he moves up to the pole position, at least for the time being. But remember, he was the second qualifier earlier this afternoon.
And we see that second lap by, he was about a mile per hour faster going down in turn one. It takes these cars about 2.5 miles to get up to speed.
So his second lap overall speed should be higher from 2 to 3 tenths of a second, which equates to a couple of miles an hour.
Darrell finished 18th in last year's Daytona 500. He won the event, of course, in 1989 on Hoosier tires. There's the trap speed out of turn number 4. And he comes down to complete his qualification run. The 2 laps are complete, and the second lap is faster, 189.020. So Darrell Waltrip, the second qualifier today, and for the moment has the pole position. A lot more qualifiers for you to go see here this afternoon. ESPN Speed World being brought to you by Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by Goodyear, #1 in tires. Recapping Busch Pole Day qualifying at Daytona. Temperature 75 degrees this afternoon. The humidity 85%. A 20% chance of rain, but it did rain earlier today. Sterling Marlin has been with several teams during his career, but has yet to put all the ingredients together. He's one of the many capable competitors still looking for his first NASCAR Winston Cup victory. Last year, driving for the Stavola brothers, Sterling Marlin was competitive at just about every track he visited, drafting with the front runners on the super speedways. His best finish was here at Daytona in July. Now this year he moves to the Morgan McClure Chevy with a great opportunity to move to victory lane for the first time.
Here goes Sterling Marlin making his qualifying run in the Kodak Film Chevrolet.
Boy, there's going to be a lot of adjustment made this year, guys, to drivers that have jumped teams since 1993, and this is going to be a little difficult to get used to, Sterling Marlin driving this car.
All right, there we see 189 miles an hour down in turn 1. That is by far the fastest speed we've seen so far.
Now, this car has a history of qualifying well here at Daytona, and Sterling Marlin has a history of qualifying well here in whatever car he drives, so it should be a good combination.
He was a pole sitter in 1992. He's trying for his 13th Daytona 500. Last year, he started the race in 27th position. And again, those speeds up there in the box compare the pole sitter's trap speed. And right now, that is Darrell Waltrip to what Ernie Irvin is doing. And there you can see a 188.8 for Sterling out of turn number 4.
And there is the speed to beat, 189.020. That's what Darrell Waltrip ran. Did Sterling Marlin do it? No, not quite. But historically, these cars run a little bit faster on that second lap, Ned.
They do. Let's say he's faster on the Yes, much faster on the speed trap going into turn 1. He has it wound up now. As you said, it takes him a good lap to get the speed up with these restrictor plates. We'll see what he does here now on the backstretch.
Sterling Marlin finished 9th in last year's Daytona 500. His top finish in a Daytona 500 was 2nd in 1991. He's doing well.
He's a half a mile an hour faster than Darrell Waltrip. Let's see, 186.7 the time to beat. 188.3, so he is faster. I think this is a new pole sitter right here. There's the time to beat. What did he do?
Second lap for Sterling Marlin was up considerably, almost a mile an hour, 47.427, 189.765. The next driver we're going to follow is Greg Sachs, who, remember, had a victory here at Daytona, not in a 500, but in a 400 a few years ago.
He's driving really a new team this year. DK Ulrich with US Air and Jasper Engines as a sponsor on the car.
Look how low he is running down in turn 1, Ned, right on that white line.
It's a little bit bumpy down there, but his car didn't seem to get upset.
I haven't seen anybody practice down there, and watching the cars, I've not seen anyone that low down in turns 1 and 2.
I guess he wanted to take the shortest way around.
Look at there. Almost as fast as Sterling Marlin going into turn 3.
Within a half a mile an hour. Let's see what the trap speed was as he came out of corner number 4. About a mile an hour slower.
Yep, so that'll affect his overall speed.
There's the time to beat, and there is the completion of lap number 1, and it's 47.7, 188.679.
Here we go, down in turn 1. Same speed. Watch how low he goes. You see that bump down there in turn 1?
Might have got just a little bit upset there. Don't know if it scrubbed any speed off or not. But it certainly, he hit the bump very low on the racetrack. That is the shortest way around, though.
His only NASCAR Winston Cup win came here at Daytona in the 400.
Hey, faster than Sterling Marlin going into turn 3 at the end of the back straightaway.
We could see a new pole sitter here. He puts a good last quarter lap together. He comes off of corner number 4 onto the tri-oval. It's going to be close. Let's see how things shake out as the checkered flag falls. It is the second lap, 47.449, 189.677. He didn't quite make it. He is now second fastest of the qualifiers that we have had. A lot more qualifying coming up, including Ernie Irvin and Dale Jarrett. Stay with us.
I found that everything I use it for just increases the power. It's like getting an engine option.
America is talking about split fire.
It was just unbelievable how it ran and how much better gas mileage was.
I had heard about the plugs, and everybody said they were great, and I tried it myself, and it did increase my gas mileage.
And it runs just like a brand new engine. I mean, it's got power just like if it was brand new right off the showroom floor. They're the best plugs I ever put in my cars.
Split fire.
The Bud One Airship, aerial ambassador of the King of Beers, proud to provide aerial shots of today's Busch pole qualifying here at Daytona. There is Dale Jarrett. He's getting ready to go. Gary Nelson pushing the car to the line.
Well, Greg, a great qualifying run for you. Now, we've seen a lot of guys try to avoid it. There's a bump down in 1 and 2, but you ran over it.
Well, there is. There's a bump down low in 1 and 2. We did a lot of work with computers during the test sessions. You know, everybody's running their cars very soft to try to let the cars get down, get out of the air, and pick up the speeds. But I found that even though the bump would cost me a little speed, the overall short route was the way to go for our car.
Have to be pretty thrilled, you know, to first ride in this car.
Well, it's great. You know, it's been my history to come out strong with new teams, and I hope we can keep it running this time.
And Ernie Irvin gets ready to go. He is the 1991 Daytona 500 winner. Didn't have a bad year in 1993 either. The emotion of the 1993 NASCAR Winston Cup season fell hard on former Daytona 500 winner Ernie Irvin. Starting with the Morgan McClure team, he moved to the Robert Yates Texaco Haviland team after Davey Allison's fatal helicopter crash at Talladega. Employing his aggressive style, Irvin took over the car at Darlington in September and finished 5th. In his 4th race with the team at Martinsville, Ernie won and dedicated the emotional victory to the memory of Davey. Well, guys, he has been fastest during the January testing. He has been very fast during the practice so far this month. Can he be the pole sitter for this year's 500?
Ned Jarrett said he could.
Yeah,
He picked him to be on the pole.
Yeah, I believed all winter that he would be the man to beat for the pole and maybe even for the championship. That's looking pretty far down the road, but he's a little bit off going into that first turn. But again, this is his first lap, so we've seen the higher speeds on the second lap than everyone who's qualified so far.
And we see how much higher he was than Greg Sachs when Sachs made his run down in turn 1 and 2. He was right on that white line, Ernie about 8 or 10 feet above that white line. Let's see as he goes in turn 3. Hey, he's a little bit faster going in turn 3 through that trap. And you see,
low there.
There isn't a bump down there like there is in 1 and 2, and all the drivers run very low down in 3 and 4, but a little higher in 1 and 2. All right, here we go. He's going to complete that first lap. There's a time to beat, 189.765. What did Ernie do?
He did a 189.060.
Not quite. 190. Okay, faster this time. Faster than the pole winner, or the pole speed so far. And we can see once again, he's a little bit higher than Greg Sachs.
There's his car and Robert Yates on the right up there, and Larry McReynolds, the crew chief, on the left.
187.8 is the fastest speed at the end of the back straightaway. Ernie's speed, 188.8, almost a full mile an hour. It is more than a mile per hour faster. And look how he's right on that white line. Turn 4, 188.3, 187.8, so it's going to be awfully close.
A little slower through that turn, but maybe had enough speed on the backstretch to make it up.
Ever see the time to beat?
189.901. He did it. He's on the pole, at least for the moment. Ernie Irvan. Now Dale Jarrett gets ready to go. And a year ago, the man won the Great American Race and didn't let up until the final checkered at Atlanta.
Perhaps the most surprising performance of '93 came from second-generation driver Dale Jarrett. There were some disappointing moments along the way. And there were times when emotions ran high. But under the guidance of car owner Joe Gibbs, Dale got his biggest win of his career, and Father Ned called it.
Here he comes, Earnhardt. It's the Dale and Dale show as we come off of turn 4. You know who I'm pulling for. It's Dale Jarrett. Bring her to the inside, Dale. Don't let him get down there. He's going to make it. Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500.
Dale's win at Daytona was his only victory of '93, but 13 top 5 finishes moved him to 4th in the final point standings, his best effort in 6 full seasons.
Well, Dad, let's not speculate on who's going to win the Daytona 500 and whether he can repeat. Can he sit on the pole?
I don't think so, Bob. He has not been pleased with his practice speeds, even in testing here in January or yesterday and this morning. Just didn't get the car up to speed the way he wanted it to.
There we see he is more than 5 miles an hour slower down in the speed trap in turn 1.
You'll recall that Dale Jarrett began his month of February last year by capturing the outside front row starting position and then going on to win the race. Let's see what he can do in 1994 as he's about halfway around on this lap.
There we see Ernie Irvan's speed, and once again, 4 miles an hour slower going down in turn 3. So you're right, the car just not at the speed is in there.
Now, this is exactly the same car he won with here at Daytona last year, but they've had to reskin it, put new sheet metal on it because of the rules change.
So there's the time to beat. Ernie Irvan's time, 189.901.
And the first lap for Dale Jarrett was 185.632, 48.483 seconds.
Now, he had run better than that in practice. We'll see if he can pick it up on the second lap, as most others have been doing.
And again, guys, I think it's the wind problem that we're seeing here as they go down the backstretch, as Dale is right now. They're meeting a very, very significant headwind.
They are, and it's 3 or 4 miles an hour slower down the back straightaway than the front straightaway.
He got up within about 2 miles an hour that time of the pole setter's speed on the backstretch.
Dale Jarrett is about to complete his qualification run. He comes off of corner number 4, checking the trap speed out of turn number 4. He's not going to sit on the pole. He's not going to capture the outside front row position. There is the checkered flag. And the second lap for Dale Jarrett is 187.145. And at this point, we had 19 qualifiers in the field, and Dale Jarrett was 8th. We will be back with more as we recap today's Busch pole qualifying from Daytona. Recapping our Suzuki Motorcycles top qualifiers to this point, Ernie Irvan on the pole at 189.9, Sterling Marlin was second, 189.7, and Greg Sachs at 189.6. Now, again, I think we are seeing speeds that are really slower than we thought they would be. Of course, we knew there weren't going to be any new track records set here, and there have been changes over the winter to even reduce the speeds, but I think these are down even more than we thought, aren't they?
Well, probably so, Bob. It's a good day for qualifying here, or even though we do have the wind on the backstretch, they have the headwind there that's hurting them some, but really the speed already is faster than the pole speed for last year, and I think that's mainly because of the weather. But certainly NASCAR expected when they did put the new rules into effect, make the cars higher off the ground, different spoiler rules and all that, that the cars would be slower.
They want to get these cars slowed down because they want to keep them on the ground. Whatever it takes to keep these cars on the ground, that's what NASCAR wants to do. And they feel like 188, 189 miles an hour is a lot better than 192, 193 miles an hour.
Yeah, we have seen all too many times in the past few years the cars lift off the ground because the air has become disturbed as the cars get sideways or get turned around. And so they have been looking at many things over the past few months to try to eliminate that problem, keep them on the ground.
And they worked and worked on it. And you know what they did? They took a race car to the Darlington Airport, backed the jet up to it, and run the engine up on that jet, held the brakes on, and blew that air over a race car, trying to figure out what they could do to keep the cars on the ground. Almost lifted a car off a trailer at the Darlington Airport.
Well, better to do it there than on the racetrack, though. And to give you an idea of exactly what they did to keep these cars on the ground, we call in Dr. Jerry Punch for an explanation. Doctor?
Last October, NASCAR mandated certain rule changes to try to minimize lift in a Winston Cup car. Now, along with raising the car itself, they installed these cowl flaps that would open up and allow air to rush out from underneath the front of the car, hopefully minimizing lift. But research throughout the winter has allowed the application of the cowl flap now to the roof of the car, as Valvoline crew chief Steve Meal explains.
Well, Jerry, as we worked throughout this winter to look at the problem of the cars turning around backwards and actually getting up into the air, we realized that air under the car wasn't picking the car up. It was high-speed air coming over this region of the body that caused this roof to think it was a lifting surface and picked the entire car up off the ground. So we just took the cowl flap concept one step further and put these cowl flaps in the roof. That same air that tries to lift the car will lift these cowl flaps open and spoil it, if you will, similar to what the air brakes are on the wing of an airliner.
Let me play devil's advocate for a minute here, Steve. Now, when you cut holes in the roof, don't you weaken the roof? And what about allowing debris in on the driver?
You're right on both counts, Jerry, and we thought about that. In order to have a little pocket so that the driver was protected from debris getting inside the car with him, we made this composite material piece, and it actually rivets and bonds into the roof, and it protects the driver from debris getting in with him and also puts back the much-needed structure that we've taken out as we cut the holes in the roof. So everything is safe and sane and strong as ever.
And the composite cost the teams about $1,100 to install. Ted Musgrave and Rusty Wallace are about to qualify as we recap Busch pole qualifying at Daytona.
Right, we're ready.
Okay. ESPN's coverage of the stock car portion of Speed Weeks 94 continues tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific, with our same-day coverage of the ARCA Hooters Cup 200. Rusty Wallace came close in last year. What is his thoughts here as he gets ready to qualify, John?
Rusty, a lot of the guys who've been coming in have told us that the wind on the backstretch has really slowed them down. In fact, Sterling Marlin said it was kind of like riding a go-kart with a governor on it. Have you talked to anyone? Do you anticipate that to be a problem?
No, I can do a lot of things, man, but I can't change the weather. I do all I can.
Well, Rusty gets ready to go to his car and strap in. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, it's Ted Musgrave.
And this is the Family Channel Ford. You haven't seen this car before, and I don't know where you would have seen it. Look, multicolored car. 188.3, so he's up to speed pretty well, Ned.
Not too bad on his first time. Look how high he's running in the turn compared to others that we have seen running.
That is probably the highest car we've seen down in turns 1 and 2.
That's a Jack Roush entry.
Those times and speeds are being compared to Ernie Irvin, who at the moment is the pole sitter for the Daytona 500. Here's the backstretch trap.
Hey, just a mile and a half an hour slower than Ernie, and this is on his first lap. This is the car that Wally Dallenbach drove in 1993, if you're a little bit confused. 187.8 was the speed that Ernie ran, 186.2. So, again, a mile and a half an hour slower.
Let's see what the time and speed report is on Ted Musgrave. 47.965, 187.637.
Hey, picked up speed, just a half a mile an hour slower than Ernie down in turns 1 and 2 in that trap.
Still going high in the turn. evidently the car just feels comfortable there for him. Certainly doesn't get upset because of the bumps that are down on the low side of the track.
Last year, he qualified 13th for the Daytona 500, and he's trying to gain a starting position for his 4th race.
Well, we see he's a mile and a half an hour slower going in turn 3.
About the same as the last time around, as far as that was concerned.
And he's slower in turns 3 and 4. So Ted Musgrave will not sit on the pole, but he's going to have a pretty good qualifying run. There's a time to beat. 189.9. Musgrave's speed was, Bob?
188.573. He was the 23rd qualifier of the day and 5th now in the tentative lineup. 1991 and 92 were big disappointments for Rusty Wallace, but he turned things around.
93 marked an impressive comeback of the 89 champion. Rusty Wallace had 10 wins, including 3 in a row. Here is Rusty Wallace in the 3rd turn, now the 4th turn, and the Moose City 500 win is his. Rusty raises the hand and he wins the first Union 400. Rusty Wallace comes off the corner, takes the checkered flag and wins the Breeders' 500. And the celebration in the Miller Genuine Draft pit. Helped by a pit crew which set the standards by which all other crews were measured, Rusty was in the title chase until the final event, but ended up 80 points short. He hopes a switch to Ford in 94 can make up the difference.
Here is Rusty Wallace about to take the green flag to begin his attempt to get into his 12th Daytona 500 field.
Look how low the rear of that car is. These fellows are running a lot softer springs in the back of these cars than they used to, trying to get that rear spoiler down the straightaway out of the airflow.
And a Ford this year is not a Pontiac that he won 10 races in last year.
And we can see he's about 3 miles an hour slower than Ernie down in turn 1, so Rusty won't like that, but we can see how low the rear of that car is. They feel like the softer springs maybe will be pushed down and decrease some of that angle on the rear spoiler.
And of course, the big change in this team over the winter is the fact that he moved from Pontiac to Ford.
A little bit higher in turns 3 and 4. There he comes off. 2.5 miles an hour slower than Ernie's speed.
White flag out, 1 lap completed, 1 lap to go. Here's the time and speed report, 48.303, 186. There is Todd Parrott, who is watching his driver, Rusty Wallace, qualify.
Todd Parrott watching Rusty Wallace make his run in qualifying. Todd, 48.303, first time by. Not nearly what you'd expected.
No, we run a little better than that this morning. Weather's changed a little bit. There's not as many cars out there running, turning in the air like it was this morning either. We're all out there by ourselves. So, you know, we worked real hard this winter working on these Fords, and I think we're going to be in good shape.
You've come a long way having to switch over to Ford. What's been the biggest adjustment for you?
Well, the biggest adjustment is just getting all the motors and bodies and all changed over. And just getting adjusted, you know, trying to get ready for Rockingham, Richmond, Atlanta, places like that. And we got 2 real good race cars for down here. I think we'll be in good shape.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Rusty Wallace's effort placed him 10th in the provisional grid. He was the 27th to complete his qualification run. We'll be back with more right after this. Taking a look at our Suzuki Motorcycles top qualifiers, Ernie Irvin, Sterling Marlin, and Greg Sachs lead the way right now. Ted Musgrave, Rusty Wallace, and Dale Jarrett. We've been talking about the springs. Here's an explanation from Jerry Punch.
Race teams realized long ago that the lower a race car is, the faster it'll go. Now, this year at Daytona, with the increased height of the rear quarter panels and deck, the car actually drags more wind and has more downforce, but the crews have been able to adjust to that downforce. What they've done, they've gone from the heavy springs normally used in the back of the car, like this big 650, to a lighter 250-pound spring. Now, these lighter springs actually allow the wind to lower the car. The wind comes across, hits the rear spoiler, and can lower the car. The difference, well, in the shock absorber travel a couple of years ago, that much. This year, we're talking about 6, maybe even 7 inches that the car will actually move up and down as the wind pushes the car down and the car hits the bumps entering the turns.
The attendance in our broadcast booth is growing. Over there on the right of Benny Parsons is Ted Musgrave, who we just saw qualify not too long ago. Great run. Congratulations. You've got to be pretty happy about that, huh?
Yeah, actually, you know, Jack Roush and the Family Channel are pretty happy with that run. We think that we maybe softened the car up a little bit too soft with the springs and it bottomed out a little bit in 1 and 2 and scrubbed a little speed off. But, hey, that's a very good run for us, and we're happy with it. It's a top 10, and we're ready to go race now.
Well, you said Jack Roush is happy, and the rest of what about Ted Musgrave?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely happy. You know, it's just that I wish I could have sat on a pole, but it was not in the cards for us this time. But, hey, we can come back in the 4th of July race and try it.
Well, you think you're a little bit too soft in the rear of the car? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to tell you all the secrets.
Come on.
At least not on TV. I'll tell you later.
Ted, will that first Winston Cup win come this year?
I believe so. It looks like the equipment I've got and the all the notes and the stuff that we've accumulated, you know, through the years with Mark Martin over there. I think it's in the cards for us. You know, if luck plays our way, I definitely see a win for us.
How about you and Mark Martin? Can you guys get along and work together as a team?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We get along real well. It's just that when it comes to playing sports or something, I kind of got the upper hand. I'm a little taller than him, but other than that, on the racetrack, we're doing pretty good together.
Now, Ted, we saw Jerry Punch's explanation of the springs, and you mentioned that you may have had them a little too soft. Give us an idea of exactly what it feels like and how much the rear end of the car does come down when you're out there in the wind.
Well, our car may sink down 4.5 to 5 inches in the back of the car, but the way we have it for qualifying and with the shock absorbers, it holds the back end of the car down. Actually, the wheels will pick up off the ground and the car will actually float for a little while. So, like I say, it's just a balance of how far you can get the car to come down without bottoming out and scrubbing the speed off. And like I say, I might have just had it a little too soft.
But you have to get the car through inspection. None of that enters in and getting the car through inspection?
No, the car comes back up. You know, just when we get out of the car, we make sure we rock the car a little bit and make sure it comes back up so we don't
you
get
take your
disqualified.
feet and push up real good as you get out of the car, right?
Yeah, I stand and I pull on everything I can possibly do.
Was inspection especially tough this year?
It was pretty decent and real fair. I was really happy the way Gary Nelson and the boys did everything in the garage area. With all the car manufacturers and different stuff that's come along, they've done an excellent job, and the fairness was really up there.
We heard Rusty. Yeah, go ahead.
The wind out there today, we heard Rusty Wallace talk about it. How much did it affect you?
Actually, the wind didn't affect my handling of the car a little bit. It may have gotten a little bit of wind down the backstretch and pushed the car back a little bit. I tried to get a veer away from the wall from getting some wind between them. But it didn't affect the handling of the car. Didn't seem to help me at all or hurt me at all.
Now, when we saw your run, you were 5th on the provisional grid. At the end of the day, you were 8th. But again, we explained that that doesn't mean a whole lot since you got a race in the twin 125s. Your thoughts on what it's going to be like out there next Thursday?
Well, yeah, you know, that you're a little wrong on one thing is, though, if you have trouble in the 125s, right, that, you know, a top 10 qualifying just about guarantees you to start the 500, which is something we were looking at. But, yeah, definitely, it's going to be a dogfight in the 125s. We've got a lot of good competition out there. We're going to have to run as hard as we can. Luckily, we can start in the 2nd row with that qualifying effort to try and run away from the back end of the field that might catch us. So it's looking good.
Is drafting different this year? Is there a difference between last year and this year?
I don't think it's going to be that much different. We do have a little higher spoiler height on the cars than we'd had last year. I haven't had a chance to do much drafting at all. We all been out there just doing our qualifying times. The guys in the Busch Clash have been having a little bit of their practice on it, but we'll know tomorrow.
Well, he has qualified for his 4th Daytona 500-mile race and done so in very, very impressive style. Ted Musgrave, we appreciate his visiting with us live here at Daytona, and we'll be back with more after these messages. Stay with us. Capping Busch Pole Day qualifying here at Daytona. The rookie crop last year was good. This year's is also one of the rookies standing by.
Well, Loy Allen, a rookie contender on the Winston Cup circuit this year. You're on the pole for Sunday's ARCA race, and this morning you had a really fast car. How do you feel about your chances in qualifying today?
I think yesterday's run, we learned a lot from running the ARCA car, and I think it just gave the team a lot of confidence going into today's run. We ran some this morning, and the car seemed to be doing well, and we're hoping to just be able to make the race and see how things turn out today.
Going to be a tough year for you as a rookie, considering lack of experience on some of the short tracks around. You've run some of the same super speedways.
That's true. We ran a lot of the short tracks, but they were all with smaller cars, and a lot of dirt tracks with the smaller cars. But yeah, we're going to try to do as much testing as we can on the short tracks, just to give us a little bit more confidence going into those races, so that you know, we can try to get the experience at the racetracks by making the races.
All right, and here is a driver who finished 3rd in the points last year, but even that is not reflective of how well he ran.
Several times last year, it seemed that all Mark Martin needed was a little luck riding with him in his Valvoline Ford. The Batesville, Arkansas driver became Mr. August in '93, sweeping all races that month. It's going to be Mark Martin winning the Bud 500 over Rusty Wallace. And Mark Martin wins. Mark Martin's Express continues. He has won 4 in a row. He added another victory at Phoenix late in the season, propelling him to 3rd in the final point standings. 93 was also his 5th $1 million-plus season.
And the Valvoline Ford is on the racetrack for 2 qualification laps as Mark Martin tries to make his 10th race.
Takes the green flag. He's off and running. Down in turn 1. We'll see how he can stack up with Ernie Irvin's speed of 190.9, 188.8, so 2 miles an hour slower
on the first lap.
And Steve Meal is watching his driver on his first lap here of qualifying. Meal, the team manager of this Jack Roush-owned car. Here's Steve.
It seems slow. We ran real good earlier. The racetrack's a little slow right now. We'll probably run a 47.55 or a 60. It's been slow for everybody. Sterling was slower than I thought, and so was Ernie. So we're a little bit off them. So we'll probably be about like I say, a 55 or 60 would be about what I expect.
Mark Martin coming down on a turn 4 for his lap. He takes the white flag, the first of 2 laps. So, Steve, you were hoping for a 47.5. You got about 4/10 to make up on this lap.
We usually make up about 3, so we're probably not going to get that. But, you know, all that matters here is getting in the 125 miles in good shape. If you're not in the front row, it just won't matter because that's all set. The qualifying order for the 500 miles will be set on Thursday, and that's a race. So maybe we'll do better there than we did today.
Steve Meal hoping his driver can pick up at least 3/10 on this second lap.
Let's see how he does. The trap speed out of 4 is slower than the pole sitter, who is Ernie Irvin. The second lap is complete for Mark Martin. Let's see what he got. 188.671, so he picked it up almost a mile an hour, but at the moment, he is 5th fastest.
He beat his team car by 0.02 of a second. And there's Loy Allen going by, taking the green flag on the Hooters Ford.
We heard from this young rookie just a few moments ago. He certainly is among the top candidates for Rookie of the Year in 1993. But again, just like last year, there is an excellent rookie crop out there.
Wow, look how low he went through that corner.
Had the left wheels right down on the bottom white line. But he has good experience on this racetrack in the ARCA series.
As a matter of fact, he will start from the pole position in tomorrow's ARCA race that we'll televise for you.
And he's only 1 mile an hour slower than Ernie Irvin on that, going in turn 3. Now, this is his first lap. He should pick up some speed on that next lap. Hey, he's even faster than Ernie, coming off turn 4.
Mile an hour.
Wow.
Could be a pole sitter here. There's the completion of lap number 1. And the first lap, 47.484, 189.535.
Hey, guys.
Look up there.
Fast 191, yeah. And if he picks up as much as the others have been picking up on this second lap, he's going to be on the pole.
He was over 0.5 mile an hour faster than the number 28 car going in turn 1. 188.8 in turn 3. Let's see what Loy can do. Loy Allen. Great qualifying run. The same speed.
Exactly. How about that?
Must have it all the way to the floor, huh?
I would think so.
See what it is out of turn 4. 187.8 is the fastest there. 189.3. He's going to do it.
He seems to be picking up speed every turn of the wheel. Let's see, 189.9.
And the second lap, 190.158. The first driver in the 190s today. And at the moment, Loy Allen, a rookie, has the pole position for the running of the 500 a week from tomorrow. The Bud 1 airship with the aerial shots above Daytona. Well, a rookie has captured the provisional pole position. Loy Allen, he is with John Kernan.
Loy Allen, a great run for you out there. You're already on the pole for the ARCA race, and we talked earlier, and you were one of the fastest cars here, but you weren't quite sure how it was going to react. How was the wind out there? I mean, just describe those laps for me.
The wind is, you get a little bit of headwind down the back, but it seems like the wind down the front seemed to help us a little bit. But you never know until you get ready to qualify, you know, exactly how the car is going to do. And we just really like to dedicate this to Neil.
We see Ricky Rudd.
And once again, we have a change of make as far as the car that Ricky is driving. He has switched to Ford for the 94 campaign.
And he also switched owners.
Yes, himself.
Rick Hendrick used to own the car. Now Ricky Rudd owns this car himself. 187 miles an hour down in turn one. Not bad then for the first time out.
No. And, of course, the Tide car has been a Chevrolet with number 5 on it in the past, has number 10 on it, so that's another thing we get used to during the year.
Back in 1982, Ricky Rudd was the pole sitter for the Daytona 500. Let's see what his performance is like today. Now remember, that speed there is being compared now with Loy Allen, who has, at this point, after 35 qualifiers, the provisional pole.
And we can see Loy Allen around 189.3 miles an hour coming off turn 4. Ricky Rudd able to get up to 185.7. I think this is the first time that car's been to Daytona. I don't believe he tested at Daytona during any of the January testing.
He did not. 187.215 was the first lap for Rudd.
He picked it up, 189 miles an hour, almost 2 miles an hour faster than the last time down in turn 1.
Car looks smooth coming off of turn 2, heading down the backstretch now. 188.869, what he has to beat to get that fastest speed down the backstretch. Goes 187.8, so that's 2 miles an hour, 1 mile an hour slower.
Again, he's right on the bottom of the racetrack. Last year, he was the 6th fastest qualifier. Off of corner number 4 and onto the trioval comes Ricky Rudd to complete his qualifying run. 190.158 is the speed to beat. 188.391, and at this point, he is 10th on the grid. Morgan Shepherd, one of those you don't perhaps think of as a contender, but he seems to be every race.
The word consistency applied to several in 93, but none more than Morgan Shepherd. He recorded his 4th career victory at Atlanta Motor Speedway in March, driving in his 2nd full season with the famous Wood Brothers team. But 12 top 10 finishes kept him in the top 5 in points most of the year until falling to 7th in the final tally.
Morgan Shepherd back with the Wood Brothers and ready to try to make his 12th Daytona 500.
Wow, look how high he's coming through the trioval and taking the green flag. What's he doing, Ned?
Well, I guess he was running as high on the racetrack as he could run to try to build up as much speed as he could before he took the green flag. 186.7, about almost 5 miles an hour slower than Loy Allen went through there.
Didn't seem to help that first time going down in turn 1.
No, but it does take a while to get these things wound up with that restriction plate. That's why they give them 2 laps of qualifying. On the other super speedways, other than Daytona and Talladega, they only give them 1 lap qualifying.
And they used to only have the 1 lap here, but since they started using the restrictor plates a couple of years ago, they decided, yes, they cannot get the car up to speed and gave him that 2nd lap.
Morgan was one of those last year who had to go back to his qualifying speed to get into the race, and he came from 32nd position to finish in 7th. First lap completed for Morgan Shepherd, car number 21. It's 186.556.
He just run better than that in practice.
Well, he picked up about 2 miles an hour that time down in turn 1.
Keeps her low on the racetrack here. Good line off that turn.
It really was. The car looked to be very stable at coming off that corner.
Morgan finished 2nd in the Daytona 500 back in 1992. Backstretch trap speed, a couple of miles an hour off Loy Allen's.
So Morgan Shepherd is not going to sit on the pole for the Daytona 500. But it looks like he is going to have a pretty good qualifying run.
Yeah, I think so. About 3 miles an hour there, off a little less than 3 miles an hour as he comes down for the checkered flag.
And let's see if the 2nd lap was better than lap number 1. Yes, it was. 47.919, 187.817. He 10th at that time on the provisional grid. Back in a moment. Take a look at our top qualifiers, courtesy of Suzuki Motorcycles. Loy Allen, Ernie Irvan, Sterling Marlin, right now the top 3. Greg Sachs, Mark Martin, Ted Musgrave, 6th. 7th is Ricky Rudd, then Morgan Shepherd, Rusty Wallace, and 10th at the moment is Dale Jarrett. Now, we've talked about the fact that there are 2 tire companies involved in NASCAR Winston Cup competition. There's Harry Gant running to his car. Let's find out about those tires from Dr. Jerry Punch.
We're with Bob Newton, who is the president of Hoosier Tire. And Bob, you own the operation. You decided to come back to Winston Cup racing. What were you trying to achieve?
Well, I really not trying to achieve nothing. I'm just doing what's natural with our company. We're moving forward. We were here before, and we really weren't ready. We went home and done our homework and brought the new radial back, and this is a permanent, absolutely a permanent move for this company.
Got to be feeling awfully good right now. Loy Allen has run well. Darrell Waltrip, Greg Sachs. Your cars, some 23 of them in the garage area, are showing well in qualifying.
Yeah, it's really been good. It's been an excellent week so far.
It's sort of like David fighting the corporate giant Goliath here with the corporate Goodyear in the tire battle. But you guys have come here to Daytona prepared with the radial tire. A lot of people. It must make you feel good to know that Darrell Waltrip felt comfortable enough to come with the Hoosier.
Yeah, that was probably one of the major things that's happened to us is DW making a commitment to run Hoosiers only all year, and you know that's got to say something for the product.
It's an enormous commitment for you. NASCAR rules say you have to go to every racetrack with enough tires for the entire field. That means about 53,000 tires you got to build for 1994.
That's right, plus another 20-some thousand for the Busch Grand National.
Last time you were here, you won the 500. Got a feeling this time?
Oh, yeah. I think Darrell, that's the first thing Darrell said. He said, I won it back in '89. I'm going to win it again in '94.
DW did it. We'll see if he can do it again. Good luck to you, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think we have somebody else who might be a Hoosier tire winner in the Daytona 500, and he has joined us. We don't want to spoil what we're going to reveal to you in the next 25 minutes, but right now, this guy that has joined us, Loy Allen, is on the pole and on Hoosier tires. Now, tell us about the tires. Do you contribute the tires to what you did today?
I think so. Hoosiers had a good product. We were down here testing and also in January, and the car ran really well. We back-to-back some good years, and we picked up 2 or 3 tenths. So we had some 20 or 30 lap runs on the tires, and they really worked well for us.
Now, we've established the fact that you're on the pole for tomorrow's ARCA race, and it's amazing that only 0.02 of a second separated your time in the Winston Cup car and the ARCA car.
Yeah, they're getting the cars pretty consistent. The cars are pretty close, and hopefully the cars, they're really stable in the draft. The ARCA cars have about 10 degrees more spoiler. That's basically the only difference. They've changed a few of the rules this year, but they're pretty close.
Is that your car that you're running in the ARCA race, or is that the TriStar car?
TriStar. They're going to field the Hooters car for us for 5 races in ARCA this year.
You going to run any Busch Series races this year?
No, not this year. We're going to just try to concentrate mainly on just the Winston Cup. We're going to run, like I say, the 5 ARCA races, but maybe next year we may look at something like that.
You've been very impressive here during this month. How much testing and how much work did you do during the winter months to get to this point?
The guys back at the shop did a great job. Every time we came down after testing, there was more and more horsepower that they got, and we also tuned on the chassis a lot. There was a lot of work. We used a lot of the computers on the car as we were down here during testing, and the guys really deserved it today.
Now, with that qualifying run that you've got so far, obviously you're going to start up towards the front in the Daytona 500. We'll determine where as we go on here this evening. Now, how do you approach that? Up there with the Dale Earnhardts and these guys that's been here every year.
I think I've gotten a lot of help from some of the guys. A lot of the Winston Cup guys have told me some things to look for. And especially, Earnhardt, I've even talked to him some. I think it'll be just like going to draft in college for me.
You talk about how hard you worked all winter with the crew, and being the rookie that you are, basically a raw rookie, did they just use the computer, or did they use feedback from what you told them in trying to get the car better?
We had a lot of, it seemed like right from the start with TriStar Motorsports, Dennis Connors, the crew chief, and Dave Hughes, we really communicated well. We used a lot of the things inside of the car, but we also, just seemed like naturally just communicated with each other. And I think that's a big part in any team. If you can't communicate together, you just don't tend to go anywhere.
Race drivers always thank other drivers or crew members or whatever for getting them going in their career. Who's been a major influence in getting you to where you are today?
A lot of different people. I guess the one thing that I can really remember is Robert Yates bringing me down here in '91. He got me a chance to be able to drive Junie Dunleavy's car in a test session, and then later on that led to buying one of Davy's cars. That really helped me a lot. That whole team helped out a lot. But I think the turning point was obviously when Hooters in '91 started sponsoring me in ARCA.
We hear TriStar Motorsports you're talking about. This is not a new team. It's a new number, new sponsor, that car number 19, the Hooters car. But this team has been in existence. Last year was the car number 68.
Well, that's right. They had some good runs and also had some really good restrictor plate runs. They have really good restrictor plate engines. Mark Smith has been doing a great job at that.
Tell us about the run itself. Now, it rained this morning. Rained rather hard, as a matter of fact, an hour and a half before the opening of the track for qualifying, and we've been talking about the wind. Was it different out there today than it has been?
A little bit. Anytime you come to Daytona, the wind is something you have to contend with. We were lucky in January to have a test session with no wind. That really helped out a lot. It gave us pretty good back-to-back testing. We knew we were going to have to contend with the wind. I mean, we called the airport this morning, and we knew the wind was coming in about 2 o'clock, and we just hoped the rain would delay it till after 2 o'clock because we knew there would be a wind change. And luckily it stayed, you know, basically the same way. I think it was at 10 knots basically after 2 o'clock.
Well, Loy is going to stick around with us for the next 22 minutes or so, and we will get a reaction from him on exactly where he will be starting in the Daytona 500. Harry Gant and Todd Bodine coming up qualifying in just a moment. Well, veteran Harry Gant is in his car getting ready to go. Remember Mr. September of 1991, 4 wins in a row?
Here it is. Gant wins the Goodies 500.
Harry's a subject of our Die-Hard driver profile. With 18 career victories, including those 4, Harry Gant has decided that 1994 will be his final season.
Mr. September! And a big smile.
We had that real good year in 91, and I sort of figured 92. Well, then they got together and they wanted us to add a couple more years, so we ended up going 93 and 94. And back in the summer, you know, a few years back, Eric, I was here the whole week, Saturday and Sunday. And it made the week seem so much longer, and it was in summertime. It was a nice swimming pool, you know, and was cooking out and everything. And that really made me decide right then that this is really nice. I mean, like ordinary people.
You know, that barbecue in the afternoon, the family sounds real good right now, doesn't it, guys?
Yeah. Harry Gant has never been ordinary people in his life. Only he's trying to kid.
All right, he goes out of the tri-oval into turn number 1 on the first of 2 qualifying laps, trying to get into the Daytona 500. This will be his 17th Daytona 500.
And we can see that he was about 4 miles an hour slower than Loy Allen speed down in turn 1. So he's got to pick up considerable speed on this.
He tested awfully good here in January. In fact, he was up there among the top 5 as far as speeds were concerned in January.
And again, this is one of the drivers that has decided that Hoosier Tires will be the company that he goes with, at least for this race.
And we can see 2.5 miles an hour slower entering turn 3 on that speed trap. 189.3, Loy Allen ran 186.2, so 3 miles an hour slower than coming off turn 4. So Harry Gant will not sit on the pole, but he could get a good qualifying run with a good second lap.
First lap, 48.066, 187.243 as Harry moves into turn number 1 again. Last year, he was 21st fastest qualifier, and his best finish in a Daytona 500 was in 1984 when he was 6th. One of the many drivers who you really think probably should have, in order to fulfill his career, won this race, but really, 6th place finish is all the better he can do.
There we can see he's 2 miles an hour, almost exactly that time slower. There's Charlie Presley, his crew chief, on the left side of that trio standing there. He sees Harry coming off turn 4, gets ready to clock him as he gets to the start-finish line. And so will we.
Checkered flag, and the second lap for Harry Gant is better, 188.029 with a 47.865 second lap, and that put him at that time, after 45 qualifiers, 9th on the provisional grid. Here's Todd Bodine in car 75.
This is the Factory Stores of America car. I think Dick Trickle started this season last year driving this car. Hey, pretty good speed down in turn 1.
Not a bad speed at all, because this is a Ford. Todd, one of the top contenders in the Busch Series for the last several years, but now joining his 2 brothers in Winston Cup competition, full time.
This will be his 12th NASCAR Winston Cup start of his career. He's about, what, just almost exactly a mile an hour under Loy's trap speed there at the end of the backstretch.
But that's not too bad on the first lap.
Not bad at all, really. Because Loy's top speed back there was on the second lap.
There we can see 4 miles an hour slower off turn 4 than Loy. And that seemed to be the place that Loy Allen was much faster than the competition.
187.652 the first lap, a 47.961 second lap.
We really haven't seen that many cars that have had been in the 47-second bracket on their first lap, so he's got a good run going. He won't sit on the pole, but he'll be up in there.
We've been talking about the various lines through the corners. Some of these drivers also have a different line down the backstretch. Some of them move well to the inside of the track. Any reason for that?
Trying to get away from the wall. Some of the people feel like if you get close to the wall that you push the air up there and it comes back and slows the car down. So they're trying to get away from that outside retaining wall.
Todd Bodine about to complete his qualification run. The checkered flag comes out. And the second lap for Todd Bodine was faster, 188.478, and that put him 8th on the grid at that time. Wheeling up to the line is Dale Earnhardt. Can he knock Loy Allen from the pole? We'll see in a moment. And Dale Earnhardt gets set to go, getting the goggles on, about to go out to qualify for the Daytona 500. After another great year last year, Dale is embarking on a season that could put him this year another notch higher in the NASCAR record books.
The man they call the Intimidator calmly and coolly took another step toward Richard Petty's record 7 NASCAR Winston Cup championships in 1993. Earnhardt took the checkered flag 6 times and needed only a 34th place finish or better at Atlanta to win his 6th title. He wound up 10th, giving himself and the Richard Childress crew the $1 million championship. Well, can he do it? Loy Allen is on the pole at the moment with a speed of 190.158. This will be the final qualifier that we will follow. Ned and Benny, is he going to do it?
It's going to be close.
Yeah, he's been awfully fast in practice, and he comes in here with a lot of confidence as well.
Pretty good speed that first time by. I don't think he'll do it on the first lap. Question is, can he get enough speed on that second lap?
Dale Earnhardt is another one of those who has never won the Daytona 500. Look how far up the wall he is, Benny.
Wow, he's all the way down to the white line almost. You ever see Richard Childress, Andy Petrie, Hank Jones?
Exactly the same speed as Loy Allen down the backstretch.
See what it is out of turn number 4.
189. Loy Allen ran off there, 187.8, so he's about a mile and a half an hour slower. It's the end of the first lap.
Richard Childress' car owner, and Petrie on the left.
189.251, and again, the speed that Dale has to beat is 190.158.
And there we see he did not quite beat Loy Allen's speed down in turn 1.
Hit a bump there, just jiggled just a little bit with him.
Let that car bottom out down in turns 1 and 2.
See what he does on the backstretch.
Same speed. I think we've got a little bit of computer error there.
All right.
Imagine doing 2 exact laps. Going in turn 3, coming off turn 4. Here's the spot that Loy Allen seemed to beat him so badly. And once again, he's faster than Earnhardt. Can he do it? Here he comes.
Down to the line, checkered flag waves, and Earnhardt did not do it, although he did get into the 190 range, 190.0. It is Loy Allen Jr. who has captured the pole position for this year's running of the Daytona 500. Guys, we have a David and Goliath story here. Here's the giant Earnhardt, who admittedly has never won the race, but he's out there trying every year, and here a young rookie comes along and takes the pole position away.
Did you see the frustration in Richard Childress?